It's springtime. Everybody's anxious to get out and play, and today I'm going to give you the top 3 issues that I see on our lesson tee here in the early part of the season. So I'm going to go over 3 things in today's video, and these are the 3 most common issues or errors that I see golfers that come down to our schools, in particular here in the spring and the shoulder seasons. As we're in the spring, we just had the RBC Heritage, and these are some issues that people have a tendency to fall into. Usually as they come out of off season, they haven't been playing very much golf over the winter. Maybe they've been hitting balls in their garage or a simulator, but they don't have the full effect of playing in season and having some tune-ups from time to time. So the first and foremost issue that I see is people have a tendency to want to square, in particular, their upper body, so their chest, their shoulders, their arms, and their head to a ball position that is to the target side of center. So let's say that your stock ball position will be somewhere between just in front of the middle of your stance and maybe 4 inches ahead of that, depending on what your preference is. When that happens, and it's very common that we want to keep any object that we're going to hit, the baseball, the tennis ball, the ping pong ball, and of course a golf ball, we would like that to, or the tendency is for us to keep that ball or that object square to the middle of our either sternum, our nose, or our chin in order for us to feel square to that. And what happens is, as we do so, the upper body starts to get square to the ball, which, as you can see, when I do that, my shoulders get aimed far to the left. And if I can show you down this way, if I try to stay square to the ball, my shoulders would rotate this way. My forearms would have a plane that goes far to the outside. The tendency for that is to get very steep in to out, out to in, swing direction, and a whole myriad of issues that are going to cause you problems when you're hitting your golf ball. So the very simple solution is you take your stance. Obviously this orange stick is right in the middle of my stance. The ball position is just to the target side of that for an iron. This happens to be my 7-iron. What I want you to do is have enough tilt away from the target. So usually it comes out of the rib cage. You're going to it's bend to the right enough so that your chin falls over top of the stick at the center of your stance. Now, where you're going to feel a little bit odd, as your eyes are tilted even further behind that, it's going to feel like you're really leaned far to the trail side or away from the target, when in actuality it's just your eyes that are really behind the ball. That is going to allow you, if I can show you, and I have this perpendicular here, when I make my rotation, that works very well. So, but when I get square to the ball, it goes outside. I have a tendency for my arms to lift, but when I make myself square, get my chin over the center line and my eyes a little behind it, and I make my swing, now the club can come somewhat to the inside or more to the inside, and you can have a much better path into the ball. You'll be much more shallow and you'll hit the ball much more solid. So that's issue number 1. Issue number 2 is when your lower body gets aligned crooked. So issue number 1 was the upper body gets crooked, it tries to get square to the ball. Issue number 2 is your lower body gets crooked, and it has to do with your perception and the way that you look at your target or the window that the ball is supposed to fly through. So let me illustrate. So I have a pitching wedge here. Obviously it's one of the shorter clubs in your bag, and this really isn't that big of an issue. You never really see people who are right-handed align too far out to the right with a short iron, or people who are left-handed align too far out to the left. And part of the reason is, as you get into shorter clubs, you're obviously much closer to the ball, so your ability to see through the window that you want to hit the ball, and I have it identified, that's about 10 feet away. I have 2 orange sticks there. They're going to be my goalposts that the ball should fly through. When you're that close to the ball, almost over top of it, very similar to a putt, it's very easy to look out almost straight down the line through those 2 goalposts. However, where we really see issue is once you get to the longer clubs. And why is that? Well, it's very simple. If I were to obviously hold my driver here, and I'm going to step up to that, I'm much, much further from the ball. So what happens is I'm now looking through my goalpost at an angle out that way. So if I'm looking out to the right, the tendency is going to be for my body to slowly start to shift that way. It all has to do with perception of where you're looking, where you identify and you intend to hit the ball, and it can really distort your target lines. So what is the fix for that? It's very simple. Let me show you. So now let me show you a very, very simple exercise that we use here in all our lessons in our schools to help you develop where to aim and where you want your body line. So we're just going to make an assumption for time's sake that you're going to line yourself parallel to your target line. Obviously with the driver or the low irons, you can have shifts to that, but we're just going to, again, for sake of time and limited debate, we're going to assume that we're going to line up parallel to our target line. So I have two flags here. You can use two tees, you can use whatever you want. You just need something to identify two spots. So obviously you're going to put one spot somewhere out here between the two orange sticks to identify your target line, and you can put that lower if you want to. Again, I'm just using this for purposes of illustration. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pick out another spot roughly about 3 feet away, or however far you're going to stand from the ball, whether you're hitting a driver or a mid iron or what have you. And you're going to put that spot down like this. And then when you come back and you align yourself, if you're going to hit your driver, you can align your driver between the uprights and at the flag on the right. And then what I want you to do is align your feet to the flag on the left. So it becomes, you have 2 points of reference, one for the club face, one for your feet, so that you can start to get a very good understanding and comprehension of, yes, I am looking out to the right, but I also have something that I can relate to that's going to hold my alignment parallel and not going to allow me to start to drift because of my perception. So that's issue number 2, is aligning yourself too far out to the weak side and how to fix it. Issue number 3, and I've been posting quite a bit about this lately in some of our most recent videos on our email list, and that is the lack of rotation in the golf swing. And this really does not have a whole lot to do with flexibility and mobility, although they do play a role, in particular in the hips. But what we see in particular coming into the spring, as many of you are coming out of the winter and the off season, and again, even for those of you who've been swinging in a simulator or getting time in at a golf dome or wherever you get your practice in, that your ability to be in golf rotation shape has been diminished, largely because you've probably been sitting a lot, whether you sit at a desk or you're driving, or a number of different things that might restrict your rotation. But as far as rotation goes, as a general rule of thumb, and these are just some general guidelines for you to go by, your hips will turn to approximately 45 degrees in the swing. Your shoulders will get to approximately 90 degrees in the swing. And you see when I do that, and I don't stretch at all, and I'm over 50, so I'm about one of the most inflexible people there are. When you do that, you can see that my face and head are pointed back this way. I'm not trying to keep my head and face square to the golf ball, which makes it very difficult to turn. So if you've had difficulty turning in the past and you've been stretching and doing a lot of things, your issues in your ball striking might be a problem that you're trying to keep your face somewhat square to the ball as you make a backswing, and because of your muscles pulling and tension and everything else throughout the body and our bone structure, you're not going to be able to make that big of a golf swing or a necessary amount of rotation if you're trying to keep your head one direction while you're cranking the lower body in the other direction. So again, a very general rule of thumb, many of you have seen this many times across the internet, other instructors, this is nothing new. If you want a very, very good point of reference, you can put a stick through your belt loops. You can do this in your office, you can do it in your living room while you're watching TV, wherever suits your needs. Put a club across your chest, and when you make your swing, hips to 45, shoulders to about 90, and the head will be about 45 degrees or so off of your shoulder. So if my shoulders are 90, you notice my head is pointed in about the same direction as my hips. That's a full wind up. When you do that, your pressure shift and everything, you will load, it's a common term, into your trail leg. And I have not ever really seen anybody who has loaded and pivoted properly into their trail leg that has had a problem with early extension. One of my theories is that early extension is largely caused because people don't make a full coil, they do not get loaded behind the ball, as a general term, and then when they start to unwind, their left side in particular, their lead side is already in front of the ball, and they start to go forward, and once they get ahead of the ball, they start to stand up and extend into it. So again, very simply, issue number 3, not enough rotation, not necessarily due to a lack of flexibility, but to a lack of understanding that you have to allow the hips to turn, the chest and the torso to turn, and the head to all turn in the backswing to their full range of motion, and that will allow you to have a better unwind and ball striking as you get ready for the season and you practice this spring. So I hope those three things helped you. Again, those are the most common errors that we see in school here in the springtime, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. Please post down in the comments below. Hey everybody, thank you for watching another one of our videos. If you found this useful and used it in your game, don't forget to click that like button and let us know down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to check out our podcast, one of the hottest podcasts in golf, Golf 360. If you'd like to watch another one of our videos or subscribe to our channel, you can do so right over here.